My earliest memory is in Yaba. My mother was like a vice principal or matron at Queen's College, Yaba. And we left very quickly to Accra, Ghana because of the Civil War, and Igbo people were moving out of Lagos. And I remembered Accra very well because I remembered that it was calm compared to Lagos. In Holy Child, I won a competition where I went abroad. I won a ticket, they announced my name on the radio, and I went abroad and talked to, this was an international competition organized by Andrew Young. But everyday life in school was not creative enough. The art classes, you were drawing the same old mud hut and the same old dry fish. Several years in America, I did architecture, interior design. I worked on great projects in the US, that's what I did. And then one day I decided, after also doing some fashion and doing some graphic art, I decided, you know what? I need even more. I need something more organic. I need something that's not so cerebral. And so I started taking acting classes and working in an architectural firm by day and going to acting classes in the evening. And then I went and did some acting work in Los Angeles and found that I wanted to tell stories about where I came from. That's how it started. And I wasn't a writer, but I just started writing stories and creating stories from Nigeria. And people liked them. And so I would go back and forth into architecture. So when I moved back here, I first worked because it was the boom, right? Everybody was building, Lekki was going. I mean, people were calling me for work. So I was working a lot. And then one day I had a conversation with Joke Silva, and I said, you know what? I'm actually not an architect. I'm really like, I have this other life, which I like more. And she said, well, let me give you a first play. And she just, right there and then, said, let's go, we're going for it. And that's how I started back, and I still ran back to architecture. But now one day, about 2.5 years ago, I made an announcement that I'm not doing any more buildings. This is what I'm meant to do because it has graphic in it, because I work on my graphics. It has fashion in it. It has architecture, you're painting with lights. And I wanted things that would move. I was tired of cement and tiles that stay right there and don't do anything. ALIWA is the Africa Leadership Initiative for West Africa, and they're part of the Aspen Global Leadership Network. And basically, it's an organization that asks you as a fellow to do a project, to ask yourself basically how you can affect your community positively on a sustained basis. So for me, I just kind of asked myself how I could use performing art to drive social change. I was tired of complaining. I think that unless you're somebody who really is engaged in history and politics, which I never was, it's hard to understand why things are the way they are. Even when you are in the political system, you don't have, it's a beast. It's like capitalism in America is an organism that is larger than America and is fueled, it makes its own food. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when common sense says stop now, that beast will eat up what is in its path. Corruption in Nigeria is the same way. It is an animal on its own. I have worked on women's issues, and that's because it kind of was a natural evolution for me. When I came back, I noticed things about women in Lagos, and I can't generalize for Nigeria, but Lagos, and maybe Abuja might be similar, that were not positive in terms of the way they treated other women the way married women were threatened by single women, the way single women wanted to be married women, the way young ladies were waiting for permission. It's like you almost need an auntie to tell you it's okay for you to excel, or you're waiting for somebody to give you permission to be great. It was when I now asked myself, what are we losing here as women? Where's the loss? That I came to hereward. Because if you're not working together in an environment that's quite hostile, you're not going to get anywhere. So several women in a room, those women could be planning together how to build the next big thing. They could be changing Nigeria. They could be changing the world. What is it that's making them insecure? The success of the show itself tells me that women are listening, and the fact that women have come back many times and women in the community have reached out to me to say, we want to support you. That is like the gem of the whole thing for me. What inspires me is Lagos. Lagos is inspiring. It's the place where, it's the only place I know where you go out every single day and you say, you have to be kidding me. Like you can't believe you just saw that. Like you can't write about it. Are you okay? You know what I mean? Like it's shocking every single time you go out. Just look out there, you see some madness. So for me as an artist, there's no better place to be because there are stories every day, everywhere. And some stories are too fantastic to tell because people won't even, it's not real enough, but it really happened. So for me as a social entrepreneur or social impact personality, what better place that has so much potential to be where you know that it's just a shift of the mind. Do you know what is possible? It's incredible. I can't be anywhere else. One thing I want to go into next is this idea of who is a real patriot in Nigeria, because we think we're patriotic. We raise our children to stand firm when they are outside and fight for the right of Nigeria. But really, a patriot is a person who thinks about their country and thinks about the future of their country. But we are trained not to think about the future of our country at all. We're trained to think about us. So the question I have is, you think you're a patriot? You can't possibly be a patriot if you are not thinking about what you're taking abroad is doing to the country. And you're certainly not a patriot if you are not questioning how much what you're doing is empowering another country. Because when you take, you have to give it to some other place. And no one who has taken has died and carried it with them.